The New River, slicing through West Virginia's New River Gorge, is geologically older than the Appalachian Mountains it now cuts through. Do you know Seneca Rocks' towering quartzite spire was once a seabed folded and uplifted, creating one of the rare vertical rock formations used for climbing across the eastern United States? Perched along the North Fork of the South Branch Potomac, Seneca Rocks is a nearly 900-foot quartzite tower that slices the horizon. From its serrated spires to its steep, exposed, this formation is one of the most dramatic rock landmarks in the eastern United States. Long before climbers placed their first pitons, these ridges were shaped by ancient seas and violent mountain-building forces that folded and hardened sand into stone. Walk the approach through spruce and oak, and you can almost trace the slow-paced, patient work of time in every striation. For climbers, Seneca Rocks is a living museum of roots, everything from beginner cracks to hair-raising vertical pitches that test both skill and nerve. Its north face drops sharply with technique outlines that have carved reputations and community, almost as old as climbing itself in these hills. Families picnic in the shadow of the wall, while ropes and chalk marks tell quieter stories of ascents and falls. At the visitor center, rangers and climbers swap tips and local lore about hidden ledges, rare wildflowers, and the best dawn approaches. A short, steep hike leads to an observation platform that offers a vertiginous view down the North Fork Valley and across to the sweeping ridgelines. On clear days, the light carves every fault and fold into high contrast, revealing how these knobs connect like vertebrae across the Appalachian spine. Local guides point hikers toward lesser-known pockets where rock crests and mountain laurels cling in impossible seams. From Seneca Rocks, the landscape slopes into the Potomac watershed and leads naturally to old mountain towns whose stories braid mining, railroads, and kite resilience. In those towns, you feel how this stone has shaped livelihoods, turning rugged beauty into livelihoods that sustain the next generation. Seneca's shadow still draws explorers today, too. The New River Gorge cuts more than 1,000 feet into West Virginia's Appalachian Plateau, creating one of the deepest river gorges in the world. Do you know the New River Gorge Bridge soars 876 feet above the raging New River, and for decades held the title of the world's longest single-span steel arch? Standing 3,030 feet across, its silhouette stitches two cliffs together, where the river has carved a canyon, older than the mountains themselves. Built in 1977, the bridge transformed a remote stretch of Appalachia into a corridor of possibility, linking mining towns and mountain trails to a new era of adventure tourism. Beneath that soaring arch, kayakers and rafters punch through Class 5 rapids that helped earn this river its place in whitewater lore. Climbers scale the sandstone and experts leap from the bridge during Bridge Day, a one-day festival that turns the structure into a theater of parachutes and wingsuits. Engineers still marvel at the precision required to erect such an elegant span in a landscape of fog, frost, and shifting shale. From the bridge, you can see the patchwork of reclaimed coal lands, the town of Fayetteville curled on a bend, and the ridgelines that roll toward the Monongahela. The bridge is more than steel. It's an unexpected landmark that redefined local identity and seeded a network of trails, lookouts, and historic railbeds. Follow the old rail corridors, and you'll arrive at the new River Gorge National Park and Preserve, where hidden waterfalls, abandoned coke ovens, and Appalachian forests tell a longer story. Seasonal light pours into the gorge, painting the arch gold in autumn and cloaking it in ghostly mists in spring. Photographers, naturalists, and thrill-seekers converge here because the bridge frames both human ingenuity and a wild, ancient river that refuses to be tamed. Harpers Ferry's steep cliffs cradle the meeting of the Potomac and Shenandoah rivers, creating a dramatic gorge rarely matched elsewhere. This tiny town sits where three states, West Virginia, Maryland, and Virginia, converge within sight, and its rivers carve the story you are about to hear. Do you know that Harpers Ferry became a crucible of change when abolitionist John Brown seized the federal armory in 1859, igniting a chain reaction that rushed the nation toward civil war? Beyond that flashpoint, the town's mills and rail junction made it a strategic prize, and its buildings still hold bullet marks, tool marks, and the echoes of the industry. Today, the National Historical Park preserves factories frozen in time, canals, and cannon-lined banks, inviting visitors to trace history by following narrow cobblestone streets. The Appalachian Trail winds through the town, and Harpers Ferry hosts the Appalachian Trail Conservancy headquarters, making it a living crossroads for hikers from every state. Walk to Jefferson Rock, where Thomas Jefferson once marveled at the panorama, or descend to the Potomac to watch kayakers thread the river's whitewater. From here, you can step onto the C&O Canal towpath and drift along a water route that links this mountain town to the Chesapeake Bay and beyond. Local guides will tell you how gunpowder from the armory fueled both industry and conflict, how rail lines ferried troops, and how the town rebuilt itself after repeated battles. But beyond military history, Harpers Ferry is a gateway to wilderness. You can follow ridgelines and the Blue Blaze Trail south toward New River Gorge. In a single afternoon, you can move from Civil War trenches to Appalachian hardwoods, seeing how history and rivers interlock. That intimacy between landscape and legacy is why Harpers Ferry reshapes how visitors see West Virginia, linking towns, trails, and rivers. Perched on the southern edge of West Virginia's coal fields, Bluefield sits high where mist clings to chestnut-covered ridges. Its skyline is still punctuated by rusted tipples and brick company stores that whisper of a century when coal fed engines and communities. Do you know that Bluefield State College, founded in 1895, became a rare beacon of higher education for African Americans in the Appalachian coal region? Walk its tree-lined streets and you can feel the layered stories, immigrant laborers, union struggles, and the music that rose from porches and churches. In autumn, the ridgelines flare with color, and the valley fills with a blue haze at dusk that locals say once inspired the town's name. From here, the old Norfolk and Western tracks spilled coal toward ports and factories, tying Bluefield to a vast industrial web that stretched to the coast. Yet the town is not only memory. It is a hinge between wild places. An easy drive leads from Bluefield's neighborhoods to the forested hollows of the New River watershed, Foysaid. Hikers and birders use Bluefield as a launching point into quieter hollows, where black bears and migrating songbirds follow ancient corridors. Follow the old railroad grade south, and it unwinds toward neighboring towns like Bramwell and Welch, each holding their own cathedral-like company mansions. These connections reveal how coal stitched small towns together, and how those ties now guide efforts to diversify economies with tourism and green jobs. Bluefield's evening light slides off corrugated roofs and onto Main Street porches where elders still trade names and dates. Their recollections braid into tours, museums, and walking trails that invite visitors to listen rather than just look. This is a place where geology, industry, and community converge, and where the route out of the valleys leads you straight into West Virginia's broader story. From Bluefield, we travel north toward the deep gorges and national parklands that carry the next chapter of the state's rugged history. Riddled by deep canyons, West Virginia harbors the New River, one of the oldest rivers on Earth, whose canyon walls predate the Rockies. Do you know the same resilient gorge that carved those cliffs also helped shape the politics and pride that echo inside Charleston's state capital? From the riverfront, the capital's gilded dome rises like a beacon over the Kanawha, signaling where law and landscape meet. Its facade of limestone and marble gives way to corridors lined with portraits, murals, and symbols that tell a complex Appalachian story. Step beyond the grand steps, and you find rooms where decisions about coal seams, timberlands, and mountain communities are argued and recorded. Every legislative session here carries the weight of centuries of industry and the fragile ecosystems those industries rely on. Statues and memorials on the grounds honor miners, veterans, and ordinary citizens whose labors built towns along winding rivers. They form an outdoor gallery that connects the capital to coal towns, river ferries, and the trails that lead back to the new River Gorge. Inside, the dome's light filters down onto brass railings and marble floors, catching the dust motes of history in motion. Chambers hum with a blend of tradition and urgency as lawmakers balance preservation, progress, and the livelihoods of mountain families. The building itself reads like a map. Wings and halls named for counties, committees that fold the state's diverse voices into law. Through portraits and plaques, you can trace fights over labor rights, flood relief, and the creation of parks that now protect the same rivers that fed early settlements. That contrast makes the capital not just a seat of power, but a mirror of a state navigating its future between preservation and change. Visitors who come for the gilded architecture often leave with a deeper sense of the human stories etched into the hills. And as the Kanawha continues to flow, the state capital remains a place where those stories are argued, honored, and sometimes rewritten. Guided tours and quiet hours in the archives reveal maps, letters, and artifacts that stitch local towns to statewide policy. They remind visitors that while the capital's dome catches the light, the real work happens where communities and lawmakers meet across valleys and river crossings. The River Gorge National Park's New River is one of the oldest rivers on Earth, slicing a 1,000-foot deep canyon through bedrock that predates the mountains that rise around it. Do you know the new River Gorge Bridge spans 330 feet and was once the longest single-span steel arch in the Western Hemisphere, hosting an annual Bridge Day that draws base jumpers and thousands of onlookers? Below that arch, frothing rapids funnel through tight sandstone walls, creating some of the oldest classified whitewater runs in the country and an irresistible draw for rafters and kayakers. The gorge's cliffs are a magnet for climbers, where sprawling routes thread historic ledges and modern bolts, linking small crags to towering facies. Fayetteville, perched on the rim, acts as the cultural gateway. Its cafes, outfitters, and murals grew from the same coal-era grit that once powered the region. Railbeds and abandoned mine structures fold into scenic overlooks, connecting industrial memory to trails that step down toward the river. In fall, the canyon explodes in color, while migratory raptors hunt thermals and rare cliff-dwelling plants cling to pockets of limestone and shale. Hiking routes link rim trails with riverbanks, so a single walk can lead from a miner's memorial to a fern-filled hollow carved by millennia of flow. Oral histories told by local guides braid stories of timber rafts, railroad crews, and river pilots who've mastered the gorge's deceptively changing moods. At dusk, the bridge silhouette frames slow-moving clouds, while headlamps and lanterns reveal how communities have adapted, preserved, and celebrated this singular landscape. Visit New River Gorge, and you step into a place where deep time, daring recreation, and living history converge, each trail leading promisingly to the next discovery. Spruce Knob in West Virginia is the only true alpine spruce-clad summit in the Central Appalachians, rising to 4,863 feet and cradling relic boreal forests unseen this far south. Do you know Spruce Knob shelters dwarf red spruce, sphagnum bogs, and cold-loving plant communities that survived the last ice age in hidden pockets atop the mountain? The summit road climbs through lanes of cathedral-like spruce, opening onto a broad dome, where an observation tower rewards those who climb with a 360-degree panorama. From that vantage, you can read the ribs of the Allegheny Highlands, the braided valleys of Shaver's Fork, and the distant profile of Seneca Rocks slicing the skyline. Beneath the trees, narrow boardwalks and peatlands harbor sundews and shrubs that look more at home in Labrador than in Appalachia. Hikers who descend toward Spruce Knob Lake find still water, framed by stunted conifers and a silence that feels intentionally preserved. Because the summit hosts such fragile ecosystems, trails are worn carefully to limit impact and leave no trace strings the experience with responsibility. That stewardship connects naturally to nearby dolly sods, where windswept heaths and quartzite outcrops form another island of northern flora, a short drive away. Together, these high places map a chain of refuges across the Monongahela National Forest that sustain species and stories rare in the American South. In winter, the knob becomes a sculpted world of rime and ice when clouds slide under your feet and the horizon feels improbably close. Even summer shows unexpected extremes. Sudden fog bank vistas, thunderheads that race across the plateau, and microclimates that change within a mile. Photographers chase light that slices through spruce trunks, while naturalists catalog lichens and mosses that whisper the region's deep environmental history. Descending from Spruce Knob toward Seneca Rocks or Blackwater Canyon, the landscape shifts from boreal pockets to steep rock faces and tumbling rivers, as if the mountain were a gateway between worlds. That transition is exact proof that West Virginia's wild heart is not a single scene, but a stitched landscape of extremes, each place altering the next. To stand on Spruce Knob is to touch a living archive. Fragments of colder eras, resilient communities, and views that bind geology, climate, and human history together. The summit invites questions more than answers. Why these species survived here, how the climate shaped them, and what will happen if the balance shifts. Hawks Nest State Park perches above the new River Gorge, offering one of the most dramatic cliffside overlooks, where the river has carved a canyon that feels impossibly ancient and deeply sculpted by time. Do you know Hawks Nest's overlook frames the new River Gorge, a stretch of water many geologists regard as one of the oldest rivers in North America, and a living thread through the Appalachians. Beneath those cliffs, layers of sandstone and shale preserve hints of prehistoric environments, and if you look closely, you can find fossil traces that whisper of seas long gone. Walk the rim trail, and you'll encounter sudden pockets of fog that fill the gorge like a white sea, while white-tailed deer move along the slopes as if navigating invisible currents. From Hawks Nest, a short drive or hike links you to the new River Gorge Bridge and the small town of Fayetteville, weaving natural spectacle into stories of human daring and engineering. Hidden swimming holes and unexpected rapids lie beneath the overlook, places where rafters and local families have long found cool refuge and where the river's power is plain to see. On the trails here, rhododendron and hemlock form tunneled passages, and in autumn, the ridgeline bursts with color so vivid, photographers trace the slopes until twilight. Few visitors realize Hawk's Nest was once tied into narrow-gauge rail lines and timber roads, and relics of that industrial past surface when you stray off the main paths. Those artifacts tell hard human stories that mesh with the land's older tales, linking coal camps and logging clearings to the same stones that shape the gorge. Stand at the overlook as dusk falls and the new river bends like a dicked ribbon below, a view that naturally draws your route toward Grandview and other nearby rim viewpoints. Beyond Hawk's Nest, guided hikes reveal rock shelters and fossil pockets, each small discovery folding into a larger map of West Virginia's wild heart. At night, with towns dimmed and the gorge laid out below, the sky becomes an unlit vault where the Milky Way pours overhead, reminding you how remote these cliffs still feel. Hawk's Nest is more than a viewpoint. It's a junction where geology, history, and adventure braid together, the perfect opening chapter for anyone tracing the deeper stories of West Virginia's rivers and ridges. Spruce Knob, West Virginia's highest point at 4,863 feet, hosts an ancient high-elevation spruce forest, unlike nearly anywhere else east of the Rockies. Do you know Spruce Knob is home to an isolated boreal ecosystem where stunted red spruce and sphagnum bogs persist from the last ice age? A narrow, winding road and short trail climb through mist-swept firs to a wooden observation tower that tilts your view above the endless hardwood hills. On clear days, the summit reveals the serrated line of the Allegheny Front and the distant silhouette of places like Seneca Rocks and the Monongahela National Forest. Weather changes here are dramatic. Clouds can pour over the ridge to create inverted seas, where valleys become islands of green. Those inversions are the same phenomenon that paints the nearby Dolly Sods with sudden alpine light and shadow, linking landscapes by wind and altitude. Beneath the tower, boardwalks protect fragile bogs where carnivorous pitcher plants and rare lichens cling to the soil. Scientists still study these pockets because they offer clues about species that have survived colder climates long after glaciers retreated. From Spruce Knob, you can trace a path of water that carves into the Blackwater River Gorge, eventually tumbling over the amber chutes of Blackwater Falls. The summit's rocks tell a quieter story too, folded in ancient shale that remembers the mountain-building fires of deep time. In autumn, The spruce cap contrasts fiercely with the surrounding maple and oak blaze, creating a crown of evergreen in a sea of color. Hikers report a silence at the top that feels almost intentional, as if the summit holds its breath to preserve its secrets. Local tales speak of hunters and loggers who once skirted the ridges, and of the civilian Conservation Corps crews who helped shape trails and protect these heights. Today, the summit links to a network of trails that lead explorers toward river gorges, climbing crags, and the open plains of highland plateaus. Visiting Spruce Knob is to step into a living museum where elevation creates islands of climate and species, each one a theater of survival. As you descend the ridge toward Seneca Rocks or the headwaters below, you carry with you a taller awareness of how mountains stitch the landscape together. The summit's modest tower and mossy benches are unassuming, but the view and the ecological rarity make Spruce Knob a summit unlike most in the eastern U.S. Stay for sunrise and watch the first light spill across hollows that have held these forests longer than the mapmakers who drew state lines. Spruce Knob invites quiet curiosity, offering connections to rivers, crags, and plateaus that define West Virginia's wild heart. And once you understand the summit's role in that network, you begin to see how each ridge and ravine is a chapter in a story that stretches beyond the mountain. Cheat Lake shelters one of the eastern United States' rare freshwater marsh complexes, supporting unusually high biodiversity. Do you know Cheat Lake harbors submerged fossil beds and migratory bird concentrations few reservoirs can match? Its dark, glassy arms still follow the old Cheat River Gorge, collecting tributaries that trace ancient mountain valleys. Local anglers prize the lake for trophy smallmouth and largemouth bass that feed along sun-warmed rock shelves. Sailboats and kayaks cut across its wide bays, while hidden coves invite solitary paddlers seeking quiet wildlife encounters. Shoreline neighborhoods cling to forested ridges, their docks lit at dusk like constellations pulled down to the water. From the lake's northern edge, the city of Morgantown climbs the ridgelines, connecting urban energy with deep Appalachian calm. Drive a few miles, and the same waterway threads upward toward Cooper's Rock and the wind-swept overlooks of the Alleghenies. Winter strips the canopy, exposing the lake's glass, and the skeletal silhouettes of oaks and sycamores along the banks. Community efforts have transformed neglected inlets into thriving habitat corridors where turtles, muskrats, and herons now flourish. In summer, the lake becomes a living amphitheater for picnics, regattas, and the soft explosion of fireworks mirrored on the surface. Yet beneath these easy pleasures lies a geology millions of years old and stories of coal, timber, and riverine resilience. Follow the cheat downstream, and the river remembers industrial chapters, then forgives some of them through careful restoration. Each inlet and promontory around Cheat Lake offers a chapter in West Virginia's long conversation between people and water. So when you lean over a dock and peer into that dark depth, you are looking at layered time and living ecosystems. Cheat Lake is not simply a body of water. It is a corridor where nature, history, and community continue to converge. Canaan Mountain in West Virginia shelters one of the highest elevation peat bogs in the southern Appalachians. Do you know Canaan Mountain's ancient spruce fir patches and sphagnum bogs are living relics of the last ice age, persisting in cold pockets on its ridges? Visitors cross stunted red spruce corridors into carpets of cranberry and sundew that glitter with morning dew like tiny jewels. The mountain's wetlands act as natural sponges, holding water that feeds Canaan Valley and the headwaters of the Blackwater River below. That downstream connection creates the thunderous cascades at nearby Blackwater Falls, where Tannin Darkwater has carved sandstone into cinematic cliffs. Hikers who push from the valley onto the mountain rim find the landscape change abruptly again, into the windswept heathlands that echo the distant plateaus of Dolly Sods. Botanists still catalog surprising finds here: carnivorous pitcher plants, rare orchids, and mosses that buffer carbon in long-lived peat layers. Local conservationists have fought timbering and drainage projects for decades to restore the delicate hydrology that keeps those peat bogs alive. In winter, the mountain wears an alpine winter coat, with snow lingering weeks longer than the surrounding lowlands and feeding the springs into spring-fed meadows. This seasonal rhythm supports migratory birds and small mammals, and it explains why northern species hang on at the edge of their range here. Walk the ridge, and you can trace human stories, from indigenous pathways to 19th century logging scars, now stitched by reforestation projects. Today, trails link Canaan Mountain to Canaan Valley State Park and the whole Monongahela tapestry, inviting explorers to step from bog to bog, stream to waterfall. For anyone who thinks Appalachia is only oak and hickory, Canaan Mountain is proof of hidden microclimates and botanical oddities waiting to rewrite what we expect. Stay with the mountain's secrets, and you'll begin to see how one high, wet land can shape rivers, wildlife, and even the folklore of a region. Scientists say the peat here preserves pollen records that unlock ancient climates, turning the mountain into a natural archive beneath your boots. And as restoration succeeds, each saved bog becomes a small fortress against climate change, storing carbon and protecting species that may vanish elsewhere. Tucked into a bowl of the Allegheny Mountains, the Greenbrier is anchored by 11 mineral springs that made White Sulphur Springs a destination long before highways existed. Its white columned facade conceals marble halls, private cottages, and an underground secret that once held the nation's lawmakers. During the Cold War, the resort hosted Project Greek Island, a massive bunker built to shelter Congress if Washington became unsafe. Decades later, that buried city of offices, sleeping quarters, and even a television studio can be toured, revealing a surreal slice of history. Above ground, the resort's golf courses have shaped champions and hosted major tournaments on perfectly groomed fairways that stretch into forested ridgelines. Chefs harvest mountain herbs and spring waters to craft southern-influenced menus that pair with the hotel's remarkable wine cellar. The Greenbrier Spa draws on the same mineral springs that first brought visitors for their health and leisure, offering baths and treatments rooted in place to place. Antique-filled rooms tell the story of presidents, industrialists, and entertainers who made the resort a discreet stage for the nation's elite. Guided tours wind from grand ballrooms through hidden hallways to bowling alleys and a casino where the lobby still whispers tales of high-stakes hospitality. Outside, trails lead to mineral springs and rivers where kayaks slip past rock gardens and old spa pavilions, linking leisure to the land. The Greenbrier also anchors a regional network of small towns and outdoor possibilities, so a stay here often begins a journey into West Virginia's lesser-known seascapes. From these manicured lawns, visitors spill into the Greenbrier River Valley, continuing toward cavernous caverns, soaring ridges, and the next stop on our route. Whether you come for history, high-stakes skiing, or simply the slow ritual of spring-fed baths, the Greenbrier quietly reshapes expectations of what a mountain resort can hold. And as you step back out into the valley, the next chapter, raw cliffs and echoing canyons, awaits just over the ridge. Plan a morning walk to the preserved spring houses to hear water still move through stone, a tangible link to centuries of visitors. Then let the resort's shuttle or a scenic drive carry you deeper into country roads that lead to craft shops, river trails, and the next natural wonder. At the Greenbrier, refined comfort and hidden history sit side by side, inviting you to both rest and explore. Its presence reshapes the valley, and the roads that leave its gates thread directly into the wild heart of West Virginia. Beneath the canopy of ancient hardwoods, rivers have carved canyons and shaped communities that still sing with history. From the dizzying span of New River Gorge to the whispering peatlands of Cranberry Glades, every landscape tells a story of time and tenacity. Harpers Ferry's confluence of rivers and past rebellions links to mountain hamlets where coal once powered the nation and now powers resilient local culture. Seneca Rocks and Spruce Knob stand as stoic landmarks where hikers and climbers test their limits and horizons widen. Blackwater Falls, with its amber waters and thunderous descent, leads naturally toward Allegheny Highlands, where rare plants survive in cold, island-like bogs. The Appalachian Trail threads these places together, stitching together ridgelines, river valleys, and the songs of generations. Roads that follow old rail beds take you from bustling craft markets to silent mine portals, showing how industry and nature have danced here for centuries. Festivals, fiddles, and kitchens keep the human stories alive, offering a warmth that matches the state's rugged hospitality. So whether you come for adrenaline in cliffside climbs, solace beneath firs, or to trace the footsteps of miners and rivermen, there's a connective thread waiting to be discovered. Each place folds into the next like a chapter in a long, converging Appalachian tale, inviting you to keep walking, listening, and learning. This is a land of deep rivers and deeper histories, where the landscape both challenges and comforts the people who call it home. Carry these places with you and let their hidden wonders pull you back until you uncover the next secret around the bend.